Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the iOS Lead Essentials podcast. Here we discuss the strategies in your journey to become a complete senior iOS developer. My name is Bogdan. I'm a senior iOS developer and lead instructor in the iOS Lead Essentials program, the online training program for iOS developers who want to become complete senior developers. Today, our special guest is Luisa from Colombia, a senior iOS developer and student of the iOS Lead Essentials program. Hi, Luisa.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Well, a pleasure.
Yeah, just to give our audience a bit of context, can you just tell us your achievements in the program that we'll be discussing today?
Sure. Well, a quick recap is I started about a year ago, and I've been lucky enough to achieve. I quickly got a salary increase and then a senior promotion, an iOS senior promotion. So those are two big achievements for me.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been very nice. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I guess it's pretty impressive, especially since you are not doing this for a long time. So all these achievements came in pretty quickly. So I'm just looking forward to exploring your story more. And for you watching this podcast, stay until the end to learn how Luisa did it, and you can achieve it too. Our goal here is to find replicable steps that others can follow to achieve the same. So, how long have you been an iOS developer?
I started being a iOS developer in 2000, end of 2017. So it's going to be 4 years and a half to 5 years. But I started as a junior.
Right.
I had some time and I did an internship and I fell in love with the language and with the system and I stayed. So yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's very impressive to become a senior after 4 years of professional experience. So, yeah, it's a testament to your skills. And
Thank you. Well, I had the right mentors and the right places to
right,
learn. I've been very lucky with that, and I'm always eager to learn. Like
yeah.
it's never a bad day for it.
Yeah, I guess luck is part of it, and there's also your openness to learning, to progressing. So it's part.
Yeah, there's always a percentage of it of each definitely. But
Right.
I treasure having the right places whenever I feel I can learn. It's
Yeah.
it always takes searching for it, and especially for example with the program. Then I've always been searching for programs, so finding this one has been very
Right.
very good for me.
Right. There's the saying that says that when the student is ready, the master appears. So on that line, how'd you find out about the program, by the way?
It was actually on LinkedIn, and I try to be active there, just always looking at things, what other people are doing, what colleagues are doing, sharing professionally. And I saw that like there's one that is like 3 days apart, and the thing is that I had been doing so many tutorials for so long that because I love doing tutorials. It's a thing that I like because I'm always learning. Like that's part of this job as well. You never stop learning. I don't know
Right.
if you stop learning when you have 15 years experience. I have a feeling not,
No.
but definitely not after 4 years. And I'm always looking, and then I saw a ad, and then it was 3 days, and I honestly started it with disdain, more like, oh, another one. Okay, sure, let's try it. And
Right.
I think in the second video, they did something like a retry mechanism for a network call that I was like, wait, what? And then I went and looked because for me, like the code base that I work with, the seniors in my team are extraordinary people. like they're amazing engineers, and I treasure them a lot. And I thought that I've always thought that my code base is perfection. Um, so I was like, wait a second, this can improve our code base. So that blew my mind, and I was like, okay, I need to enroll in this program very quick. And
Right.
that's how I found about it. So over LinkedIn, but I was not 100% convinced because I've done a lot of tutorials after I saw that, and then it blew my mind. So it was very good, and I knew I had found something special.
Right. And since you mentioned doing a lot of tutorials, how do you find learning from these? Are they giving you the increases in like skills you need, or is it more of a like how do you find them?
The thing is, when you start, sort of like I started iOS from scratch in a way. I mean, I was an iOS develop. No, sorry, I was a computer scientist finishing. I actually wrote my bachelor thesis while in the internship for iOS. Uh, so you're always like, the foundation, but in order to grow, then I'm always like, being a self learner. And with a lot of these tutorials, it gets to a point when you're like growing, in which they're either too low, too junior, or too advanced. And the advanced part is not necessarily that you don't understand what they're talking about. You understand the foundation, the theory of it, but you don't have enough experience to be able to apply it on your own. So it's a little bit like there's a point in which I felt that you're in the middle. From from a lot of the tutorials that are, and believe me, I have a lot, especially like Udemy and Coursera, and even the one that was on iTunes. Like, you get a little bit of this and a little bit of this, but then you start getting to levels where you're like, well, what happens when this happens? And they don't cover that. And since they are online already, you don't have a way to ask. Like, I completely diverge to ask. So my experience with tutorials has been that I like at a point, like at the beginning, of course, awesome. But when you start growing, they start being like you start being between two worlds. And it was a little bit challenging to find which one's the next one to keep growing, because it appears at a point when you just are like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to buy the new O'Reilly book with 500 pages and read through it. Um, so it like I had been to points in which like, yeah, I think I'm approaching that time in which you just have to do my own research. And thankfully, I found this program, and I haven't had to do it,
Right.
which I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I like your point. Yeah, because I think what's very useful there, and of course this applies to people that are open to learning, and tutorials are a tool for learning, but it's exactly like you said, the feedback loop is broken. So you watch the tutorial, you see like maybe everything is clear. It's like, yeah, makes sense. I could do that. And then you try to apply it and it doesn't work. So you're stuck there. Like there's no way to get back into that feedback loop and just ask for more direction. Like that's it. It either clicks or not. So
Or the
yeah,
amount of what ifs.
yeah, exactly. Right.
Because then you start seeing more scenarios, and the moment you're hearing it, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that's clear. I know how to do that. But what if? And that loop is broken. That so yeah, no, and it's like having a place where to ask those what ifs is awesome.
Right. Okay. Now that we mentioned your first interaction with the program, can you recall some of the issues you were having when you found out about the program, and how was your professional life back then? If you have that, it's pretty fresh. So can you tell us a bit?
There have been enough changes. I remember there were topics in which I did not feel I had the ownership, like foundational or the theoretical and practical knowledge to talk about, especially when you're having with your colleagues or and so on, when you're having conversations that are a little bit deeper about, okay, how do we want to do this across the app? How do we want to do this in the code as a general guideline? How do we want to address tests and so on? I did not feel I had the ownership to, I had feelings and like, I think it goes in this direction, but it didn't have the wording. And sometimes for those conversations, you really need some foundation about saying,
Yeah.
you need to have some ownership to be able to speak about design pattern, about solid principles. And that helps you bring a case to the table. And thanks to the program and thanks to it, for example, using so heavily a lot of the solid principles, it has helped me not only like understand them but interiorize them, and that helps me bring more examples to the table. And then like that's one thing, like being able to have that ownership to speak with a team. And then also like having a place to ask for questions, like whenever you're having like meta conversations about architecture, about infrastructure, about code guidelines, or even very specific problems with a lot of layers of the code. The way that I had before to ask something was, well, as 9 in 10 developers, and I still do, is Stack Overflow. And I don't know if you ever had it, but whenever your question is very specific and it starts having a higher level, I have experienced different paths. So one path is it follows into forgottenness, like it's just forgotten.
Yeah.
And then you have to wait and put a bounty for it so it gets replied. The other one is it's very specific, but it's similar enough to another one. But you already read that one, and that's not the answer to your question. But then it gets marked as a duplicate. So you're like, oh, are you serious? So you're frustrated and you want the solution for yesterday because you're working. Um, and or it's very old and it goes in along the like the answer, you find an existing question that goes or answer that goes in the lengths, but it's so old that you don't have and hope that that person's maybe so active. And if it's not in Stack Overflow, if it grows more and more specific or more and more meta,
Right.
then you go to Apple forums, or to an effort RFC and so on, and then you see you have to read through a lot of things, or GitHub issues, and you see that the answer that is most close to what you need it was from 2 or 3 years ago, but again, you don't have a way to reply, and that has been like the pain and the what has changed for me and what has given me a lot of confidence is that with the program we have a channel full of professionals, and I can then ask, I can be as specific as I need to.
Yeah.
And the people that reply, first of all, they're amazing professionals. Second, one can ask back. And
Yeah.
hey, what if, or you realize maybe that the way you asked was not the right one, but then you can still correct it.
Yeah.
And then my experience has been like from having an issue and having 2 weeks of finding the answer, it has gone from 2 weeks sometimes to 1 or 2 days max between the back and forth and so on. And that's a very quick turnout. And especially, no matter how specific you are, you're going to get a high quality answer. And
Yeah.
that's a treasure for me. It's a that has been very, very life changing because I mean nothing. I still use Stack Overflow, and I'm going to use it for the rest of my life because that's part of being a developer. But for enough things, you need a better place where you don't have that feedback loop broken.
Yeah.
And we have that at the iOS Essential channel.
Yeah, actually, I really like this. You brought up Stack Overflow because it's like you said, if you're a developer, you probably use it a few times at least. I guess once you go more experience, you probably use it less, but it's still there. It still has valuable information, but for me, the biggest issue is the information is not validated. So anyone can post any answer. I have to go in, dig it out, see if, like, maybe search for different threads they answered, or try to find out if they know what they're talking about. Because sometimes maybe you ask a more broader question and it's gonna impact the decision you make for I don't know how many months in advance, and it better be a valid response, right?
Right.
And yeah, I think that's where we have a lot of advantage in our community. It's like you said, it's first that the instructors moderate all these answers, so we try to make sure there are no incorrect information or something like that. But also there's so many people with great experiences, as you said, and you never know which one is going to relate to your specific setup and context. And yeah, mm, it's great to talk to that person. Like, it's just not just get a straight response, because most of the conversations develop. It's like you said, somebody says, what if we do this, or how could we solve it in another way, or like different variations, or
and
different
and
problems
not only
similar.
that, like, sorry, that, like, that's the professional, the IT part, in which, we of course want to grow. But in any job, there's also this huge personal part, or these also, like you said, like broader questions, like, hey folks, you have, like, you're in a group with a lot of experience, with people with a lot of experience. So, and it's fine to ask things like, how do you do it in Git? Like, how do you usually make this decision? And then it's not so much about like having an answer that is right or wrong to solve an issue. It's more about hearing the stories of very experienced people, or people not only experienced, but people that want to learn and want to do their
Yeah,
best. And
yeah,
you realize, then they start sharing, and then you're like, oh, they do it this way. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, so whenever I need to do it this way, I need to think about that. Or even for interviews, or a way to, like, people, if you're trying to learn more about a topic, there are also a lot of publications of people that try to explain with their own words different things, but whenever they explain it, they use different examples as well. And at least for me, like, whenever I'm learning about a topic, seeing different examples, it helps me deeping into it. Every time I look at a different example, I'm like, okay, this corner, this perspective, and then I feel like I start
yeah.
getting a
Three
360.
dimensional. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's not only that, it's like the IT part is incredible, but also the human part for the career development among people that are avid learners. Everyone just wants the same: learn, 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 learn. And we're all learning, and we're at different stages. So we share different things, but they're all
yeah.
incredibly valid. Um, so that's a very cool thing.
Yeah, totally, totally, and especially with the diversity, because some people are learning about, I don't know, design principles and architectures, or are focused on performance, others on, I don't know,
Yeah,
multi-threading and like other paradigms, functional
love
programming. Like, there's so many levels and pieces of the whole senior developer hat. Then yeah, it's great to see, and it's like also motivational. You see people approaching different things, approaching just growing their career in different ways. There's so much to get from that.
100%, and it's a very good place to join it all. Or I always have, like, I see something like, oh, I need to learn about that. Okay. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to take a look again at that topic. So it's awesome. It's a beautiful reminder.
All right. Cool. So I'm glad we talked about Stack Overflow, about the way our community works, maybe in a different way. We talked about tutorials. Any other area you felt like you struggled with before joining? Um,
Um, I didn't know I was struggling until I started doing the course, and that is, I thought I knew how to write tests. I thought so for people that like haven't done it, this is test-driven development. You do correct me. Like we do emphasize that strongly.
yeah,
Can we say that?
yeah,
Well,
we
we,
do.
I mean, program. See, I feel part of it. It's been long enough, and yeah, it's like it emphasizes test-driven development, and it has allowed me to realize how I was just not writing them right, and that changes your mind about how you think when you're programming.
I agree.
It's you just change how you start thinking. But the long-term validity of it, it's crazy. Like the amount of bugs that I've found, like writing tests for existing files, that I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna write this test, just something small. And you're like, wait a second, why is that failing? And it's like, oh, yeah, that was wrong. Like I'm not exaggerating. That has happened enough times, and that just keeps you like you change the way you think. So and then you start feeling more secure with what you're writing because you wrote the test. So it was not so much of an issue. I was directly struggling. I no, I was struggling with it without knowing I was struggling with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does.
Yeah, so like learning how to think in a test-driven development way in order to write code has been completely different because now I notice like whenever I start doing something, I'm like, okay, what are the tests that I want to write for it? And then by thinking about the tests, sometimes you also then think about use cases because especially like in a high moving, high pace moving company, not all
Mm,
test cases are described
yeah.
every time before you start developing a feature. That's just normal.
Yep.
That's no one's fault. But then when you start writing the test, then you start thinking about the use cases, and you're like, oh. Then you start writing, with humans and beautiful, like amazing designers and PMs. Like, hey, what happens when this scenario appears? And you have not even written the test, but because your mindset is a bit different, then it's a gain. Um,
Totally. Totally. I guess it shows that, or first of all, the reason why we work with maybe uh, unwearied requirements which are not bulletproof is because we want to be fast. So most of the companies would be working in a similar way, whereas we're trying to figure things out as they go. And this process of uncovering what the actual use cases are going to be is, for me, it feels pretty natural. So even though back in the days we used to have different, I don't know, different periods of the development cycle, and we would design at first, and it's like now it's bulletproof, and then we write the code. Nowadays, I feel most it probably works better when we move incrementally. So it's like you said, it helps a lot when you have this understanding and you treat it in a way where it's okay. How can I help? How the tests are gonna help on like raise some of the questions which I'll bring to the team, then find some answers, get back and do the whole cycle again and again until we are um, in a very good position regarding that feature. So yeah, I know I've also been a student before being an instructor, and was my experience too. Um, I was doing testing before, but now after learning all the techniques, and for me especially, it was the idea of writing the test first. So that changed everything, because most of the time I would write the code, the production code, and then write the test, and it was very painful sometimes because the code was not testable. So
Yes, 100%. Old code bases are no testable.
it's
That's
either not testable or you have already some bias because you know how it's implemented, so the tests are gonna kind of reflect that. Whereas in this different approach with TDD, you probably, so you write the test first, you have no idea how you're going to implement it, and the chances of screwing up are uh, lower, I think. At least that was the case for me, because I didn't have that bias. So I would just think about it as a maybe as a QA, like what does this component need to do? And then I do it. Right? There's no, I cannot hack that. So go in and change the test just to accommodate some weird scenario I have. So yeah, it's all an incredible journey about testing.
yeah. The security one feels. I don't know if you feel it as well. That like when you make a change, uh, and uh, and the tests just keep passing. It's like, ah, yes. Because especially when you do, one thing is one change one color from green to red, which is like jobs we do. It's part of the job. But sometimes you have to change, how you request valid data for your app, that is needed and that the app won't otherwise work. And then you're like, oh, okay, gonna start writing it this way. I'm gonna start using this pattern or this framework or this new thing. Um, at least for me, that's like that I get like chills down my spine because I'm like, oh my god, if this breaks, then the app is broken. Uh, but then whenever I see all the tests pass, I'm like, okay, 99% of the users are covered. Because you never know, of course.
Right.
But that's just like it helps with anxiety. If, I don't know if someone has ever felt it whenever you do like a bigger infrastructure change. But for me, it's been day and night, like relying
Yeah.
on tests.
What I'm reading through the subtitles is having tests that you can be confident about. Because if you don't, well, that big change is still gonna gonna give you
Oh yeah.
a bad feeling. So yeah, I think that's also a game changer when you have a suite of tests that when you run them and they pass, you're okay. This works. I can ship it. I think that's also very nice to have. And okay,
100%. Yeah.
okay. So yeah, we talked about all these um, things you dealt with before joining the program. Then you found out about the program and decided to join. Can you share with me how you decided and if you have any second thoughts or anything?
Well, the moment again, like it's important to think that I had this. Believe me, like my code base is written by such amazing professionals. This that it was my Bible. And then the moment I noticed that there was an external source that showed me a way to make my Bible work better, then there were not
Bible
many
2.0.
options. Exactly. Exactly. And throughout the course, I have been actually like being like, oh, we don't do that right. Oh, the code base doesn't do that. Oh, the code base needs to improve this. That has been very interesting because believe me, like it was. Like it's amazing code. But like having a place, like having a course that just shows me things to improve it. Like what's better? So to be honest, there was not a lot of thinking about it. That example alone was very clear for me, because of the respect that I had for the code base that I'm working on, which is seniors that and architects that have been working on it for years. So yeah, it was not much to think, to be honest. But
Awesome.
can definitely share that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think from a learning perspective, it's great. So you have a code base with already with good principles, but you also see a different perspective in the program. So now you have both to learn from and just compare. Like in every situation, you can say, okay, we used to do it like this. Those are some other ideas I saw in the program or in the community, and you can uh, just decide whatever works best, or if you're checking all the boxes, let's say from that perspective. So yeah,
And
it's
also,
great.
yeah. And when you work with smart people and you bring a smart improvement to the table, they usually don't just reject it. And the program has given me enough of those opportunities to realize, oh, I've noticed it. I learned this. How about we start considering it? And since in the program I've seen enough examples, then I gain more and more ownership to defend things that I learn, like
Right,
principles or ways to do things that I learn there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a good thing for this and this. So, yeah, that has been very, again, like day and night in a lot of ways.
right. Did you feel any friction with the team when you're bringing some of the stuff you learned from the program into work?
Not necessarily, I wouldn't say the word is friction, but we're talking about very experienced developers. So sometimes I've learned something and I've been very eager about it, like, oh, this is awesome, we need to try this. And then they have asked valid questions and like, well, have you thought about this scenario? Have you thought about this? And I've been like, oh, no. So I then have like I can have a back and forth within my team. I learn more about it. It helps me learn. And then there have been situations in when I go back to the group in the essential developers and kind of relay the questions, not in order to like defend my thought, but more about to gain both perspectives
Right.
of the experience, and that has been very enriching.
Yeah.
So not so, I wouldn't call that friction. I just call it like a learning environment supported by both sides. Like not every idea that I've had has been accepted, but every time that it has not been accepted, it has been a learning experience.
That's awesome. I think my question was maybe based off some stories where more senior developers in some situations are very rigid about their practices and techniques, and they kind of reject any new ideas. So I really like what you said, like how your more experienced uh, fellows decided to do it. So they give you feedback on everything. They ask more questions. I think number one is just being open to it, so you don't feel like, okay, I have a proposal and it's just getting in the trash can. Um, being open, listening about it, just I think makes the whole difference. And like you said, even better to top it off, have this chance to go back and forth and see all the perspectives from the academy, from your team, combine it together. Because sometimes, I mean, some of the things we teach, like principles and techniques, are yeah are like complete on their own, But in other questions, other situations, it's not a definitive answer. So it's usually, okay, we need to pick what's best for your use case. So in that particular, in that scenario, it's so so useful to have multiple perspectives. Just asking questions, like somebody saying, okay, but did you think about the implication on performance or something like that? It's super valuable just to throw that dimension on, and then you can think about it, or have it analyzed and say, no, no, it's not a problem, or it actually turns out to be. That's very valuable to me, to have somebody just ask you these questions, and then you have a
And
lot more
one
to.
important thing, for example, since this is, I mean, that I agree with you very much, like having the two perspectives. And one thing that I've caught myself reassuring myself about is like, just don't take it personal. Because sometimes I myself get very excited, and it's all written, because teams, especially nowadays, are asynchronous and in different countries. And that's great because you don't really have to speak to people in a lot of scenarios, but it's all written, and written language is sometimes very dry.
Yeah.
So it's what I've had is, I've had a proposal and then I get excited about it. And then I get valid questions back from my teammates saying, like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense in this case because this and this. And there is a slight moment when which is like, why? you know? So also don't take it personal and make the best out of it. Would be It's definitely something that I repeat myself whenever something just gets questions back. Like, make the best out of those questions because they're valid, and take it to another spin. That has been very valuable as well. I don't know if you ever had it, that when the second proposal is rejected, it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I did. And first of all, I think, like you said, written messages definitely lack the overall, I don't know, non-verbal cues that you usually attach when you're speaking face to face. So they can sound a lot drier and maybe more, I don't know, from a more assertive place than you'd like it to be.
Right.
Then yeah, I mean, you that's the risk you take when you are open-minded and trying to propose new things, to expose yourself to new information, that sometimes you get shut down. And it should be like, not every new idea is good, but for me, the learning experience is best when you have this cycle. And if there's a takeaway here for the audience, I would say, just be part of the conversation, ask the questions, be ready to receive more questions or make proposals, or like that's when you learn the most. And I think we mentioned it a few minutes ago, not just having one perspective over a problem, but having multiple perspectives, like seeing it from all these angles. That's experience in my book. So that's when you can say, okay, I know about this topic because I know many angles on it. It's not just one, right? So
Exactly. And the thing is that with 15 years of experience, I'm guessing you're going to be in every perspective to have seen every scenario. But by listening to the experience of others, you save yourself 10 years to 15 years to get to that point. So it's like, yes.
yeah,
Um,
that's it.
so definitely. But it takes sometimes like, oh, okay, let's keep going. Uh,
Yeah, because it's also, like you said, we shouldn't take it personally, even though we have some instinct that maybe the ego is pointing towards that. So you say, but
exactly. Or,
you maybe
you're just
identify with
very
that
excited
idea.
about a
Yeah.
topic, and you want everyone to be as excited as you as that, for that as you are. And then people say no, but they were also right.
Yeah.
Um, so it's definitely growth. Like for me, it has been also a growth opportunity in that side. I don't know if, yeah, other people
No, I
would also.
agree, and I agree. And if I would recommend the same, like if you find that environment where you can have your ideas heard but also challenged, that's that's great. And just
Yeah,
do the best to keep going. And
it's learn.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, moving on. So then, after you decided to join, let's see if you are willing to share what was your experience with the program at first. What was the process you used to go through the lectures?
Sure. I have two ways depending on the how I feel with the topic being discussed. I If I feel that it's, for example, a new topic that I know little about, then I read each video has notes. I read the notes. Um, I take notes about the notes in my own like channel, no, not channel, in my own readme from my repository, and I take notes, and then I notice I start getting there. Then I watch the video the first time at two velocity, like twice with the velocity, which is great because I can do that anywhere. Sometimes I've done it like on the bike, like spinning, but the first time is with no laptop. I'm just listening, and it's with the highest speed. And then the third step is I do the video again while I'm taking notes and writing the code.
Yeah,
And usually that's at what 1.5 velocity. So whenever I no longer look at the amount of minutes of the video because I know that I'm going to be at least 1 hour per video. But each day is different. Like the way I do it, what helps me is that it allows me to split it. So I don't never feel like, oh, I have to sit 5 hours for one video. It's not like, oh, okay, so this morning. And one super important thing is what helps me is doing it before work, because then I have the feeling that I've achieved something for my personal learning. So reading usually takes 10, 15 minutes. Watching the video at second speed takes usually 10, 15 minutes. What usually takes longer is accompanying the video with the code that you write.
right.
Um, but then, I usually by that time, then while I'm writing, I understanding what's happening better. So I don't feel like, or sometimes I just even split one video into 10 minutes. I just do 10 minutes and 10 minutes and 10 minutes. But what has helped me a lot is to like being constant with it.
Right.
Like it's better to do every day 10, 15 minutes than do nothing and do 8 hours on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
helps me, for me, it helps me keep in mind what I have learned for the job during the day. And then the next day, if there was something like, oh, I think I could apply this, but I don't have the time right now. Okay, tomorrow. And then when I read it, then it starts thinking, it starts like scratching in your head, like, oh, yeah, I think I could do that. Okay, cool. Tomorrow when I watch it again. But then
Yeah.
you have that allocated time per day, and that's how I've done it. That's just how I'm doing it. I still have the bonus ones to do.
Yeah. I
So,
think some of the ideas there in the program are just contagious. They're like in the movie Inception, if you're familiar with it. It's like one thing that starts growing and growing. It's like, okay, how can I use this? Should I change my all my projects in this way? Yeah. So you probably need some room to like, just let that sit for a while, and
time, yeah.
it's gonna pop up here and there. But overall, like how many hours per day do you allocate, or you have anything like that?
To the program per day, at least 20 minutes. Sometimes only
Awesome.
10. Um, Like there are days in which I'm busy or have something else to do. But I try to do at least 10 minutes because again, it helps me keep it in mind and my personal experience that helps me interiorize things. And each topic, since the program talks about topics that are not, it's no longer about just setting the text for a label. It's deeper. So
Yeah.
by thinking about it, it like by just taking a look for 10 minutes, then it's in my mind. It's in my mind. I'm looking at different code and then it comes back. And that's super valuable because whenever I've done it, that like I think the most I've done in a day, maybe I've been very eager and we as programmers sometimes just forget about time and sit in front of the laptop and food doesn't exist.
Until something hurts, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it was Sunday. Today's Monday. Huh, what happened? Yeah, that like whenever I've done those crash sessions, because I've also felt like it, I do notice how I've had less time to let things sit and how I have had to go back sometimes. Because then you start to get eager and then you're like, oh, okay, done. Oh, okay, next one. But at least for me, that's not what it's about. This is a long term investment
Yeah.
on getting things down and letting them sit. And time, I need time for that,
Yeah.
at least.
But I like this idea that you said that you expose constantly to this content and to these ideas, because I think constant exposure to a certain mindset is very helpful and transformational. And I know I was reading something on habits formation. It's like one topic which I'm really interested in, and there's a theory about scaling down on habits. So it's exactly in line with what you said. Instead of doing 7 hours on Sunday, it's a lot better to do it every day. And if your goal is just to do it for 10 minutes, you can do 10 minutes, right? Even in most busy days, you still get 10 minutes for something that's important for your career. And that gives you that flow over time. Like you get used to doing, like, now I got to do my study and it's only 10 minutes. That, at
Yeah.
least that's the goal, and it's a lot easier to get in there and do it. Whereas when it's maybe 1 hour, say, oh, but today I'm super busy and I don't have time to get it in, so I just skip it, and the next day and the next day, and now I got a week, uh, and I made no progress. So is
Then
the
you start
whole
feeling bad.
theory, it's, yeah. So I really like you're actually applying this. um, so have you heard about this, or you just did it in, I don't know, it felt natural to do it every day
No, I've
for
read
you?
a bit about habits, and I've learned from my experience. I've been an autodidact for a long time. So I just have noticed, and one technique that I don't know because I've been doing it for so long that I don't remember more than 14 years. But one technique is ingest as much as you can with the time that you have, and whenever you're doing something else, walking, cooking, at the gym, I don't know, showering, try to think that you're explaining it to someone else alone
Nice.
in your head. The moment you try to explain to someone else what you've learned, and whenever it's just short amount of time, then it's more visible
Yeah.
because then it's not, so much content. It's manageable content. You're like, okay, when you do this pattern, then the good thing about that is this and this. And you're like, okay. Yeah. And then when you start getting into that, you start asking yourself questions. You're like, oh, well, what if this? It used to just having conversations with yourself or 10 minutes of content. Um, but then you go back to it, and then you get deeper and deeper every time. So the thing is, thanks to that technique, then every time you look at it, you see different perspective, because then you had the questions that you asked yourself before. And I think a teacher told me about that for history when I was in high school. Like, read a little bit of history and try to tell it to someone, and that way you learn it. And then I realized that
Yeah.
that applies to every matter. I don't know if you can relate to that,
No,
but because
it's awesome advice. So for me, I always knew this part that if you want to learn something, learn it that you can teach it to someone. I never thought that someone can be yourself. But now that you were saying this, and I was laughing already when you were describing that talking to yourself situation. In my experience, so I had to give a talk about, it was clean architecture, solid principles. And I remember exactly walking outside, walking my newborn daughter, and I was pushing the cart, and I just woke up and I was talking to myself about the solid principles. Like
I'm glad I'm not
some
crazy.
idea
Thank you
there,
for
and
sharing.
like, yeah, some other people probably saw me. It wasn't right, at least. But yeah, it's a great tool, I guess. So I like that you put it in a, I don't know, in a more clear recipe on how to use it. um, yeah, it's great because now that I look at it, it's triggering all these neural connections again and again, so everything gets more deepened. Yeah,
You become your own teacher in a way, and your own student. Uh,
yeah,
you challenge yourself. So when other people challenge you, it's not so much you see their questions reflected to the ones that you ask yourself. So it helps you feel less attacked in a way. I don't know. I hope someone can relate.
okay. So very good um, ideas here. I really like the your experience through the program, how you did it, like the habits formation and everything. It seems like you also had quite a, I don't know, structured way of like hearing the content first, then only the last step was implementing it. So by that time, you probably got exposed enough, enough times to it to felt a bit more comfortable. So yeah, that's pretty unique. I actually didn't hear anybody doing this, but it makes a lot of sense. Um, when I was a student and going through the lectures, I would just do it once at normal speed and just stop the video, implement, and
Maybe
go
you're
on.
faster than
Yeah.
me.
I don't know. I don't know. No, but I never. So I wasn't creative about how to do it. I'm more. I'm trying to force the discipline. So it's okay. It's gonna be 1 hour per day, and the simplest process I can think of should be enough, and that's it. But now talking to you, it's like could have done this in a different way that maybe is more suited to my own style. And I guess how we learn changes over time. But yeah, just
No, but
everybody
I mean,
finds their
you do 1 hour, it means that, like, for example, for me, it's more about recognizing what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses.
yeah,
And I am fine recognizing that finding 1 hour a day for a thing, even if I love it, is hard. I, I find too many excuses not to end up doing it. I'm like, oh, 1 hour today, I cannot do it. So what I've managed is like, okay, I'm like, I'm a human. I recognize that I cannot do that. What is the least amount of time I can do? Okay, I can do 10 minutes.
excellent,
Let's go with those 10 minutes. What can I do in 10
excellent.
minutes? How can I split it? And because then, whenever, personally, whenever I don't do that hour, then I feel like a little bit like a failure. Like, oh, I
Yeah,
didn't do it again. Oh,
yeah,
I didn't do it Tuesday. Oh, I
that's the
didn't do it
problem.
Wednesday. But whenever I manage the 10 minutes, then I feel more confident and better with myself. And that's also a personal gain. Like at the end of the day, I'm just we're just humans. So that's why I do it that way, because I notice that I don't have the discipline to do 1 hour per day. Just just accept myself and be like, yep, nope. But it's still possible. It's just lower, but one gets there.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to have this perspective on how does achieving or not achieving that goal makes you feel, because that translates to other things you're trying to accomplish. So it, like, having that at the start of the day can just screw things up, and you don't want to sabotage yourself. So i I like, yeah, I really like that approach where I say, okay, what's the minimum amount I can do? Because it's never, like, realistically, and you can contradict me, it's never 10 minutes. Some days it's 11 minutes, some days 15 minutes, some days it's half an hour because it's something really cool and I can't stop doing it. So I want to
Exactly.
learn
Well, you have
more.
the time. Yeah.
But you always have check marked the 10 minutes. So it's not that, it's not playing any games when it's a day where you have no motivation. It's like, ah, yeah, I can do it for 10 minutes. Not that hard.
And
So
even the days that you're really lazy, and believe me, I have enough of those, just watching the video. And I've
yeah.
had topics in which I've watched a video and I've been like, yeah, I'm not sure I followed. I watched videos 5 days in a row, twice speed. But then it helps me to mentally still feel that I'm doing it. I hope that can help someone because it helps me a lot.
Oh, totally. I'm still like, I'm in the same mindset with you. I know I'm not that disciplined, so I always try to find all the hacks that I can put in place. So, for instance, for me, one which works incredibly well is habit stacking. So I know I have, for instance, in my case was I always work out in the morning. So after I work out, there's an immediate slot. So I can say I'm gonna study right after working out. So that takes care of it. I wrap up my workout, I take a shower, and then I'm ready. You know, so that's very easy cue to start my learning habit. And then the other trick was actually learning to do the Pomodoro technique, which I saw
Hmm.
Kai and Mike do so many times in the series on YouTube, and that really works for me because when I start Pomodoro, I like lose all the distractions. I'm just focusing on one thing, and by that time, I was already kind of easing that technique in, and it's like, okay, I just need to do 2 Pomodoros. That's it. And that was 1 hour. And whatever I did in that hour, I also try to do little experiments with my time. So I say, okay, this works better or not. And um, if I don't know, just close the video after I watched and do the coding separately, or code along with the video, like all these kind of variations. But the two main things I achieved with some hacks, I think. So I always try to pay attention to this and see uh, where it fits, or just see maybe failures. Let's say failures. Like, for instance, I try to study in the evening after I finish work, and I notice I'm not absorbing enough because I cannot get into that mindset, into the proper mindset of I can't wear the student's hat properly. So just note to self, okay, maybe this doesn't work. I need to have my what's the time of the day where I'm most fresh, uh, and my mind is ready to absorb. It's in the morning. Okay, let's do it then. So it was all a process like that for me to, and but in the end it's the same thing. Like, I know I'm not disciplined to do it, so how can I trick myself into doing it? And it's like doing this, doing that. It's like you said, for other habits I'm doing the same technique with 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or like, uh,
And with the test room
Awesome.
development
Yeah.
or for work or so on,
Yeah.
then it's also awesome because you just write a test and you're like, okay, I have 10 to write. You write a title and you're like, okay, so I do this, I do this one, do this one. I take a break after this one. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it all comes together.
Yeah. Great tips. And I'm sure there are more which we'll learn in the following days and years, but
Definitely.
it's great
Always.
to have something. So as soon as you have something that works, you're definitely in a good place. So you say, okay, if I need to learn this, I pretty much have a I know how to do it. So
And the bag of
awesome.
tools, you just have a
Yeah,
bag of tools. One day you
that's
need
it.
one day you need the other, and that's fine.
Yeah,
That's, yeah.
awesome. Okay, so trying to do some backstepping. We talked about some of the issues you had before starting the program, and if I recall correctly, we talked about tutorials that probably didn't give you uh, a chance to give your feedback and get more insights out of them, see how to apply them to your particular cases. We talked about the Stack Overflow experience of day-to-day development and how that is lacking some depth and maybe the I don't know assurance that the information is correct. And we also talked about I don't know development in general, like testing, how that how that changes the way you think and the way you write software. So looking back, how would you say that the program helped you in these regards?
I think every single thing. The real question that I would ask is how has it not helped me?
It's a
Because
good
then if
answer.
I start visiting every matter, I would repeat myself
Right.
and I would just bore people down. So no, it like in every like from the personal support, from the technical support, from the infrastructure support, from the theoretical support, that has led to me gaining more confidence. That has led to me sharing more, either written or spoken, what I've been learning. That has led to colleagues and managers seeing that progress, that has led to me even liking more my job, and believe me, I liked it. Um, that has led to professional achievements like becoming a senior. So, uh, what I don't know what like in every segment of as a professional and the personal parts within that professional life, it has had a positive impact. Um, yeah.
Nice.
So I don't know if that
Nice.
answers.
Oh, totally, totally. Because I was actually going to the achievements we mentioned in the beginning, and of course there are more. Uh, and I'm trying to decompose, see how you did it. I for myself and for the audience as well. So if I recall correctly, you said you after starting a program after I don't know a few months, you already saw your first increase in salary. Can you tell me a bit about that? How you did it? How it happened?
Well, that came. Um, that one I didn't ask for.
So was it part of the other people noticing how
Mostly.
you're
That one was
okay?
definitely them noticing and mentioning it, that I was just doing more things. One thing that I've always learned, I don't know exactly from, but definitely I didn't invent it, is that whenever you're going towards a position, start doing that position without someone telling you that you have that position.
Right.
So I've just I like looking at what other seniors are doing and start doing it and start trying to do it because you don't always have the knowledge to exactly do it. So, and also like showing what you're learning. Like, I like being very transparent about what I'm learning and also sharing. Like, I think sharing is caring. It's like a sad concept, but I've like it helped like by learning it with the confidence that I was gaining. It was helpful to have that confidence to share with the team, like, oh, you know what I've learned this week, oh, this proposal for this new thing that we could do, or for this old thing that I think we could do better. And by showing myself of like through the program, thanks to the program, I've and through sharing constantly, written, sometimes spoken, but mostly because the team is across different countries, just writing it, just sharing with the team, hey folks, there's this TIL today I learned. Oh, by the way, do you guys know this? And then sometimes the answer is like, yeah, we knew. And you're like, oh, great. you
Yeah.
I knew it was with a smart team. And sometimes the answer is like, oh, actually, you know what? I didn't know that. Um, but one thing is like, the program has given me confidence to, by also sharing, which is a technique that I like, making it obvious what is the progress you're having. Of course, there's the part of having the privilege to work with people that pay attention to that and see like, oh wait, but if you make it often, then you make it obvious.
Right.
um, and that has helped me a lot to be seen for that progress. And I've had the luck to have also the people come at me and say, we've noticed this, and this is where then you're wearing this hat for
Yeah.
this and this, then you deserve this. So I've been always very open about like the goals that I've had, like improving in architecture, improving infrastructure, and by like with the manager, like building a report with like is with him and telling him these are my goals, then it was also easy for him to see whenever I was also marking certain of those goals.
Right.
So, but I wouldn't have managed that. Like, I wouldn't have managed to make it that obvious without the confidence, without, of course, the knowledge. Because you can have a lot of confidence, but if you don't know it, then you cannot share it.
Yeah.
And then sharing it to make it obvious, like make it simple, stupid for people to see the progress you're making. And thanks to developers, like we have RFCs, like requests for comments, we have forums, um, we have Stack Overflow to just answer questions. Sometimes I've just increased how much I do of that and how much I share with the team of topics that I've learned, and that has helped them see that. So I think, I mean, I haven't asked exactly like why all of these good things have happened, but I have a strong inner feeling. The recognitions have been a consequence of that. I don't know if you know what I'm
Right.
like, and I'm very thankful for that. For like, there's definitely been I put a lot of work in it, but it's been a complete process.
There are so many takeaways I would get from what you just said. Uh, and if my memories, I'm gonna test it for a bit. So first, I really like the idea of being making it obvious that you're learning things, that you're making progress, and it's not. I'm sure it's not in a way where you're just showing off. It's
No,
more of a like the natural flow, and you're not doing that to impress, but you're still aware. So I think awareness of, okay, how can my team perceive me, how can my managers see what I'm doing, is very important, because for a lot of us developers, we are not, we're like more solitary creatures. We don't communicate maybe that well, so it's a lot harder to understand what you're actually doing all these hours each day at work, especially with nowadays a lot of people are working remotely, so it's just a big a big black box. Nobody has ideas about what you're doing. It's just that you're producing something from time to time.
Right.
So I really like that, and I'd say to just take that with the most positive way. So again, not showing off just for the sake of it, but also not being scared or ashamed to show something that you've done just because people say, "Oh, but he's, I don't know, trying to get some more visibility."
See your colleagues as people that you know that they all just want to learn.
Yeah,
So whenever I've like sent like an email or sharing like, oh, this is what I've learned, and in our team we have something like that, which is like group an open invitation to share that. So that
nice.
somehow exists as well. But I also post it in Slack sometimes whenever it's something small. And it's not so it one way to write it is like I didn't know this and I was struggling with this and there was this bug and I realized that by using this or by changing this then it fixed it, sharing in case someone else faced it. um, and definitely not showing off because if there is one thing that computer science teaches you is humbleness, in a way that no matter what's the topic, there are always about 100 topics you know less about,
Yeah,
no matter how much of an expert you are. So
yeah,
people don't really, I mean, my experience, that people don't really show off in this industry just because of it, because you start seeing that it's not the point. So
yeah,
no, you share, and then a lot of people, and then colleagues are they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that," "Oh, cool," and then you start writing like, "I really didn't know," like
yeah,
Um, so like you humanize it, and um, not only me, like my colleagues also do it. I'm very lucky to have them, and but it's a beautiful thing because then people also start sharing more, and the good thing is you do it from home. You don't have to
yeah,
speak. You can just write. And that I understand is, and for me as well, it's very comfortable. You can take the time.
yeah. And I guess the value behind it, behind all this sharing, is to just to grow the team's expertise, like to be able to learn from each other. Because maybe that's unclear. Like some people just, let's share, but why are we doing this? So what's the goal?
You
Is
grow
to,
as a team.
yeah, to grow as a
The
team.
better the
That's it.
code your colleagues write, the better your understanding is going to
Yeah,
be.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
So that's and then it's obvious, like you make your progress then obvious as well. So, and and it's documented for the team. Like someone starts at some point and you can be like, oh, you know what, this email in 2015, let me forward it to you.
I want to step back to a few minutes earlier because there was I think you made a nice point there, and I want to make sure it doesn't go unnoticed. So you said something about doing the the thing you want to be acknowledged for before they do. So I also heard that somewhere, and I think it's incredibly powerful. It can apply to something like, I don't know, if you're, for instance, if you're looking to get a promotion to a senior position, instead of just going to the manager and say, okay, I want to be a senior, what should I do? Or maybe push to get that position earlier. You make that switch in your mind and say, okay, how would a senior work? How much
And
would they
read what are
produce?
the
Yeah,
requirements
yeah,
for senior.
exactly. Exactly. How
Ask.
would they do
Usually
everything?
HR has them,
Yeah. So
and
that's
start
that's
behaving and
very
start doing those things.
very important to make that. switch in your mind, because then you're not a senior yet, but you're kind of driving there. So at some point, somebody is going to say, but this person, she's a senior, right? We got to acknowledge that because she's already doing that. She's acting as a senior. So I really like that. I think it's in most teams, unless you're really unlucky and are in a bad situation, people will notice. And that's the most natural way of growing your career, is when you do the next step already, and you just gotta see it, and it's like, okay, let's make it official.
And
Whereas,
also keep writing those things down for yourself. Because I don't know if you've had it, but in the industry, we usually have this 360 personal reviews.
oh yeah,
Uh, and that doesn't happen in a day. You have to take notes for every achievement that you keep making. And if you just read, for example, the requirements for a senior, what your company posts to look for a senior, then make sure you mention that.
yeah.
It's not,
So awareness again, like you gotta
but
know the
the
game.
awareness, the awareness begins in yourself.
Yeah, totally.
And take notes, because I don't have the best memory in the world. So I'm like, oh, okay, according to that description, then senior is expected to do this. Wait, I've done that. You write down.
Right, right.
So that those are like small things. I don't think there's like a global recipe, but it's a lot of small steps that I think are helpful in general.
Yeah,
Also for your managers, like they're super busy people. Like it's not necessarily that they're mean people that they're not seeing the progress you're doing. It's just that they have more people on their watch
yeah,
and they
yeah,
have logistics and they have to defend projects and they have to prioritize things. So it's not about making people evil. It's about helping them see you and them. One doesn't have to speak for that.
yeah,
There are enough processes usually within a company to show it. And yeah, I mean, for me, it's been very positive. So I hope it could help someone as well.
yeah. No, totally. I think it's a lot of great useful tips here. So yeah, we mentioned about getting the first acknowledgments from the team. What about the senior position? How long did it take to get there, and how you did it? I think that's also interesting to find out.
It was about 9 months. It was just a trickle down of like I finished a big project on my own, but I could finish it by with someone I hope a good level of quality, implementing a lot of the things that I was learning at the course because it was somewhat of a young feature. A great advantage of that is that you have free room to implement new things and concepts from scratch that whenever you're just fixing bugs or writing very small things, you don't. So things kind of came together. I also asked for a big feature beforehand. I was like, I think I'm ready to do this. Whenever one comes up, please keep me in mind.
Right.
And I was thankfully listened to, and it happened. And it was a trickle down of those things, while sharing. Then, especially for the tests, I just started writing a lot of tests. I help increase our code coverage. And I was lucky enough that, that was also seen. Whenever we had meetings about that, I would mention, oh, these things about tests or starting to write like best practices, improving our own wikis. I think every team has wikis. I think that all just came together and it happened. So
Right.
I was honestly taken by surprise, like not because I was not looking forward to it, but because I did not specifically say, oh, I think, I'm wearing this hat. But I did notice how I was gaining more and more gallons in the things that I was doing. I was noticing how the conversations I was having were on a different level. And I did mention that to my boss, not about like, oh, have you noticed how I'm doing this better? But more about like, oh, I'm having this worry about this, and I would like to speak about this in our code base because I've noticed this. And then whenever you speak with a little bit of more ownership about topics, then it's very hard not to notice. And I
Yeah.
would have never had that ownership without the program for a lot of for enough topics. So it all came together just organically. Uh, I don't know if that's helpful. I know that
Yeah.
it's not so specific that it sounds like a recipe.
I think it is actually, because it's for me what I heard as a summarized version, and of course the details are important, but it's just do the best you can, try to make that mind switch to act as a next step wannabe, and make sure people notice that. I think that's very applicable.
I hope so. I mean, maybe it doesn't happen in 9 months, maybe it's a year. And also, if you notice that you're not seen, try to think why I'm not being seen right now.
Right.
What is in the way? Am I showing it? Am I sharing enough?
Yeah.
Um, am I myself writing the things that I'm achieving to mentally be aware that I'm achieving it?
Right.
That helps me at least. So I hope it's helpful for
No, that's great.
anyone listening.
I think if I look back, so I'm saying it's great because if I look back at the moment I started to grow in my career, it was kind of a similar. So I wasn't that aware of it, but I was trying to, I don't know, excel in every possible way, and people noticed, and it came organically, as you said. It's like, okay, you're already, I don't know, de facto lead of the team. Why don't we make it official? That kind of a narrative. So yeah, I can totally relate to that. I think it's more natural to do it this way than to, I don't know, talk to your manager in your yearly review and say, okay, but I want to be a senior developer. And they say, okay, but you're not there yet. So let's make a plan, and you got to do this and that. And they're still like, maybe they don't have a lot of confidence in that working because they see the gap between where you are and where you should be. So they give you the chance, but I guess it comes more natural when it's the other way around. They like, you know what you have to do, and nowadays with having access to, like we said, our community with other seniors, and you can gain these ideas of what to do, like what should a senior look like. And of course, with Stripe, like one of the ideas we have is this complete senior developer picture we're trying to paint, and there are many skills and techniques and things that you need to know to be a complete senior developer. But to be a senior developer is very achievable, with all the things we talked. So yeah, I like it. I probably there are many ways to get there. We kind of saw the same similar approach, I think. So I can vouch for it at least. Uh,
Yay. Okay, I'm glad that
yeah,
it's not my only case. I mean, but on the other hand, also like mention it. Like
yeah,
I told my manager at a point last year, like my long-term goal is becoming a senior. I do not know how much exactly I need, but no, I'm working on it. Doesn't hurt to also mention it. I mean,
yeah,
it helps the organic procedure.
totally. Okay, just moving on, I would like to maybe get some main takeaways, main things, techniques that you got from the program that are stuck with you now. What would those be in your idea?
TDD.
TDD.
It's the main one. TDD has a changing mindset, changing how I think about code, and also thinking about solid every while I'm coding. Not the review process, but while I'm coding, that definitely has
Right.
been a great takeaway. And it's being a great takeaway. I'm not done, and I'm actually looking forward to like watching like all the bonus. Like I've already have a new year, and there's always new things coming up. The mentoring sessions are awesome, so I always like TDD and solid are like foundational takeaways. But I'd say that pretty much every mentoring session gives me a takeaway. So
Totally, totally. Because it's a specific context we're talking about.
exactly,
So it's how do you fix that problem, whereas
exactly.
those are more generic. Yeah,
Yeah,
I dig both.
that I cannot exactly mention
Yeah,
because it'd be too long.
yeah.
But that's incredibly helpful and valuable.
So one thing I like to think about whenever I learn something, and I want to see if how you view it is, okay, I apply it, but then after a while I start to think about, okay, is this really helping me? So on that light, can you think of a situation where applying TDD or solid or any of the other principles or technique you learned has helped you and the team be in a better position, be in a, I don't know, get more confidence, get whatever. Like what would be a, I don't know, a relevant example for you? Because I think that's important, right? You learn something, you apply it, and then after a while you measure and say, okay, is this working for me? We're not just following blindly, right? So
I don't, I mean, I hate to repeat myself, but the part of like the security of doing a more overhaul change and being somewhat less nervous because
right,
I know the tests are still passing and I trust that I wrote the test with the best knowledge I had at the time.
right,
That for me is foundational progress and
right.
long term progress. So it only invites me to keep that path. I know I've mentioned it, but it's the main, it's been so important for changes I've done, then that is the first example I can think of. Sorry, I cannot think of.
No, it's great. I mean, I also relate to that. For me, I always maybe had ideas about code architecture and how to simplify, how to clean up the code. But when I didn't have tests, or to put it more specifically, I didn't have a reliable set of automated tests which I can run and say, okay, my production code is still working. I would sometimes just be afraid to make those refactorings, or just, I don't have the confidence because it was a piece of the code that was working and I didn't want to break it. So the code suffered and the quality suffered because I lacked that. And for me, having the test to back it up gave me all that confidence that, okay, now I can do and really put my ideas. Because I'm actually reading Martin Fowler's book about refactoring
Oh yeah.
nowadays, and it's like, like what was the refactoring? It's putting your understanding of the code in the code. So the next time you or somebody else goes in there and tries to figure it out, it's already explained, self-explanatory code, right? So I'm not no longer scared to do that because I know the tests are there to back me up. So for me, that was the biggest difference, and not for me, like for teammates as well. I've seen them. Uh, I remember conversations where somebody would say like, "Okay, let's not change that because it's working and we don't want to break it," to not having that conversation again. Now you got tests, so it's,
Let's
yeah,
do it.
yeah. I get the game changing experience totally.
Yeah, I love the quotes of one quote that I always remember is legacy code is non-tested code.
Yeah,
And
I think that's Michael Fetter's definition.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like yes, definitely. Like one thing is to read it and be like, "Oh, sure. Okay." And one thing is to feel it and be like, "Oh, yeah." And I'm already at the point in which I definitely feel it.
yeah. Okay. Any advice from you to people that want to grow their careers in a similar groundbreaking speed that you did? What's the key? What's the secret?
Keep learning, as I don't think I need to tell anyone watching these, especially. Um, accept whatever's your speed. Don't compare yourself to someone else because it doesn't bring anything. Like in 10 years, if it took you 1 month or 3 months or 12 months, you're not gonna be upset. You're gonna be happy
Yeah,
you achieved it. And find the way to show what you're learning in a way that makes you feel comfortable. For people that are fine or comfortable like speaking about it, and go for it. Have your own YouTube channel or what you feel comfortable. Or if you feel less comfortable speaking, then write down publications in a blog or sharing it with colleagues, or just show it to the world that
right,
you're learning
right.
those things, and kind of believe it. That has helped me a lot. So that'll be some like those three small pieces of advice for anyone.
Yeah, that's super useful. Thanks. Yes,
Yeah.
we discussed all of them. I couldn't agree more. So that's it. Just put it in practice.
Let's
Uh,
see. I mean, it never stops. That's also one thing. It never stops.
yeah, you never
So
arrived.
yeah, but I don't know. I really like it. Keep learning is awesome.
Right.
So fall in love with learning. That's always a good thing.
Yep.
So no, thank you for taking the time to listen to all of this.
Oh, it's been awesome. I have a final question for you.
Go for it.
Uh, if a company is looking for an iOS developer, how can they find you?
Well, they can always contact me for interesting projects, but to be honest, I'm very happy where I am right now. But long term, my LinkedIn, I guess we can maybe post it with the like saying like I think it's Luisa F Castaño, and in GitHub is LFC Yacht. That's my handle. So I'm always happy to learn about interesting projects.
Cool.
So thank you for asking.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if we're on the advice part, I think having a network is super useful because you never know when you want to make a change. So having those connections can come really handy. So
Yes.
even if, at least for me, when I receive some opportunity or I get somebody contacting me, I'm not being defensive about it. I'm being open. It's like, okay, it's like you said, if it's not a good time, it's not a good time. But that doesn't mean you cannot exchange a few words and maybe you are a good fit and you can just keep a relation
Yeah.
with them.
No,
So
connections are
yeah,
incredibly valuable,
yeah,
especially I mean, no, all kind of connections,
yeah.
professional and
I,
personal.
I especially learned this when I started freelancing. Uh, it was like all the opportunities I got were through connections. So it, it became more and more important, at least for me. So I super much value these. Um, so
That's great
awesome.
advice.
Yeah.
And yourself.
So Luisa, thank you so much. This was great. I really enjoyed talking to you today.
Same. Thank you very much. And if anyone also like not only has you don't need to have a job uh, offer or something or be a company. If someone would like to ask something else, feel free to also contact.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Keep in touch. And for the people watching, if you want to learn more, just visit us at essentialdeveloper.com. And there you can find a bunch of free resources to improve your iOS dev skills. And you can also find us on the social channels like YouTube, Twitter, and so on. Thank you, and see you soon. Bye.